I believe we're about to be tricked. Order out of chaos is their motto, and chaos is exactly what appears to be coming. Please do not panic. Please do not add to the turmoil and confusion by hitting the streets. Instead, stay calm and be safe. Consider the following. The USA has always had absentee voting available to any U.S. citizen who is unable to go to the voting polls in person to cast their vote. Ask yourself why. A massive amount of voting ballots have been mailed out indiscriminately when a tried and true system is already in place and has been for years. Very simply, it's to create chaos and to obfuscate the true results of the 2020 election, delaying the result by weeks, maybe even by months. On January 20th, if the election results are still unclear, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, will be sworn in as president. Temporarily. Supposedly. Talk about nightmare scenarios. Only LA Mayor Eric Garcetti, clearly drunk with power when he turned off the water and the electric on Californians who dared to congregate in their homes, would be a worse happening. It is my opinion that the ballots being mailed indiscriminately en masse is for the purpose of fraudulently stealing an election and hoodwinking the American people. The goal of the opposition is to destabilize the USA so they can rob us of whatever freedom we have left after COVID. If you strained against the leash under COVID, how will you handle martial law? Maybe. Before we move on to your monthly aspects for October of 2020, I would like to share a quote from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. He wrote the following: Be calm when the unthinkable arrives. Modern tyranny is terror management. When the terrorist attack comes, remember that authoritarians exploit such events in order to consolidate power. The sudden disaster that requires the end of checks and balances, the dissolution of political parties, the suspension of freedom of expression, the right to a fair trial, and so on, is the oldest trick in the Hitlerian book. Do not fall for it. October 2020 planetary transits for Libra and Libra rising. This is an equal house chart set up for 0 degrees Libra on the ascendant, Eastern Daylight Time, New York. We begin October 1st, 2020, with 3 planets in Capricorn in the 4th house sector. Jupiter at 17 degrees, Pluto at 22 degrees retrograde, and Saturn at 25 degrees of Capricorn. The Sun is placed in the 1st house at 8 degrees of Libra. The planet Mercury is in the 2nd house at 4 degrees of Scorpio. Venus is placed at 28 degrees of Leo in the 11th house. Mars is at 24 degrees of Aries in the 7th house, retrograde. Uranus is in Taurus at 9 degrees retrograde in the 8th house, and Neptune is at 19 degrees of Pisces, retrograde in the 6th. The moon is in Aries at 3 degrees in the 7th. October 2nd, Venus enters Virgo and moves into the 12th house. October 4th, Pluto turns direct motion at 22 degrees of Capricorn, 29 minutes. October 13th, Mercury turns retrograde at 11 degrees of Scorpio. October 22nd, the Sun enters Scorpio and moves into your 2nd house. And on October 27th, Venus enters Libra and moves into your first house, and retrograde Mercury re-enters Libra and your first house. October 1st brings the full moon, 5:06 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 9 degrees of Aries in opposition to the Sun at 9 degrees of Libra, spanning houses 7 and 1, highlighting personal desires and needs versus the needs and wants of partners. The full moon sheds light and brings clarity, making this an excellent time to have discussions, make plans, and restructure your important relationships, both business and personal, bringing into balance your obligations to yourself and the expectations of partners. Mercury opposed Uranus on October 7th between houses 2 and 8 could bring unexpected news concerning your finances or bank loans, taxes, or insurance. Maintain flexibility and a willingness to accommodate changes. On October 9th, Mars squared Pluto between houses 7 and 4 warns against engaging in power struggles with partners or family members. As an aspect of potential violence, stay away from volatile people and circumstances. Indulging in ruthless behavior under this extreme energy could have negative consequences. If contending with someone on a power trip, step aside and protect yourself. Venus trine Uranus on October 10th between houses 12 and 8 is a very social vibration best utilized in the company of others. A good day for spending time with an intimate partner. On October 11th, there are good feelings all around under Sun squared Jupiter between houses 1 and 4. Use this magnanimous energy to heal family relationships that have become strained. Jupiter sextile Neptune on October 12th is a very idealistic and spiritual energy, bestowing great creative inspiration. Occurring between houses 4 and 6, there could be an opportunity for making positive changes at home and at work. The Sun opposed Mars on October 13th between houses 1 and 7 warns you to keep your cool and detach from indulging in any emotional scenes. These houses rule the self versus others, and confrontations at this time are thoroughly egocentric and more intent on winning than finding a balanced compromise. Wait for an easier time to negotiate with partners on the issues of the day affecting both of you. Trying to force your will on a partner or vice versa will be doomed from the start. When one person wins, you both lose. October 16th brings the new moon, 3:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees of Libra in the first house, highlighting and energizing your personal goals and plans over the month ahead. This new moon is in high tension by square to Pluto and Saturn in the fourth house of home and family, and in opposition to Mars in the seventh house of partnerships, both business and personal, indicating a rocky road ahead, but still workable and doable with some patience and persistence, the kind that is compromising and not egocentric. Bullying and knocking people over to get what you want or to get a plan in motion will backfire in the form of enemies who then try to stop you. Progress can be made. It all depends on how you choose to handle yourself and others. If you give those around you the impression that you're on a power trip, you'll bring out the destructive side of these potent energies instead of utilizing to your advantage the power and strength these energies bestow when channeled the right way. On October 18th, when the Sun squares Saturn, you'll have the first opportunity to handle frustration in a positive way. This square goes between houses 1 and 4. Whether it's criticism coming from family or encountering obstacles to your plans, detach and let go of whatever destructive emotions are generated. Also on October 18th, Venus opposed Neptune between houses 12 and 6, warns you not to believe or worry about something you hear from a coworker. Chances are it's only a rumor, or you may not have all the facts. 3 planetary aspects hit on October 18th or 19th, depending on your location. The first one is Mars squared Jupiter between houses 7 and 4, an extremely busy and productive energy. The second one is Venus trine Jupiter between houses 12 and 4, excellent for your creative pursuits on the home front and relationships with family. And the third, occurring later on this day, is Mercury opposed Uranus between houses 2 and 8, excellent for financial discussions and innovative restructuring of your assets. Venus trine Pluto on October 21st and Venus trine Saturn on October 24th between houses 12 and 4 points to harmony at home and aids you in healing and stabilizing family life. Mercury conjunct the Sun on October 25th in the second house favors a sit down and discussion with a financial planner to discuss financial reorganization to accommodate changing conditions and needs. October 31st, Halloween, brings the full moon. Again, the second one this month, also known as a blue moon, 10:49 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, at 8 degrees of Taurus in opposition to the Sun at 8 degrees of Scorpio, spanning houses 8 and 2, highlighting finances and assets, both personal and jointly held. This full moon is aspected by Uranus in high tension, conjunct the moon in Taurus in opposition to the Sun in Scorpio. Expect the unexpected. Please keep yourself safe and protected during this full moon, taking into consideration the unstable conditions on many of our streets. It is very possible that those who wish to wreak havoc and insurrection in our society will use this opportunity to masquerade behind Halloween costumes so that they are unrecognizable. Uranus in high tension is an aspect of potential violence and warns against taking risks.